So, I see all these challenge videos on Cuphead, whether that be the no moving challenge, the worst loadout challenge, maybe even a cup lock, but you know what I don't see very often is a speedrun of these challenges. Now most of the time when these guys do these challenges, it's more of just do it for doing it. Well, I want to see if I can do one of these challenges as fast as I possibly can. So, I decided to do a PEASHOOTER only challenge from a new game save and try to do it as fast as possible. Let me know if you beat my time in the comments and well, let's just get straight into it. So, we make a new game and we obviously skip the tutorial since, well, we don't need to do it and we don't need any coins since we're only doing PEASHOOTER. We immediately leave Elder Kettle's house and we move on to the first aisle. The first boss we go against is Guppy Le Grande. Took a bit longer than I wanted to beat this boss because, well, that.
You're gonna have to do a lot of bleeping. I'm sorry. I need to learn to control myself. I need to learn to control myself.
Sorry, lost control there.
I know my behavior can be a bit erratic. I was about to curse again.
Dude.
Just about did it. I'm like, let me chill. Let me chill.
Oh my god, I actually dashed. Oh, I'm so bad. There you go. Okay, first boss done. And I actually didn't. I mean, I got close. Well, I dashed into him. That wasn't on purpose. We move on to the root pack. It was obviously light work and proceeded to assert my dominance at the end. Ruby and Croaks was next, and oh my, I forgot how different they are on regular than expert because I was not expecting this boss to be so easy. Oh, but Ruby and Croaks is so different, bro. Ruby and Croaks is so different on regular because like the difference in their attacks, because like instead of attacking both at the same time, they attack one at a time. Like they'll do one attack and then they'll do another one. Their attacks are like more longer, basically. But, you know, and you get past the phases so much faster too. Like, oh my gosh. Before, like, it feels like some phases would last forever. Like the first phase of Ruby and Croaks lasts a really long time. Like, oh well, it lasts a good amount of time. Like compared to regular, it's like definitely a boost in time, like a significant boost. We go all the way up to Hildeberg next, but sadly we have to go through the tutorial in order for the bridge to appear to get to the boss fight, so some unnecessary time was lost. Hildeberg was also easy just using plain PEASHOOTER, but I had to get used to how regular mode worked. Because I was so used to expert mode, I was caught off guard by the attack speed of the boss or minions, or in general phase changes from regular to expert. I don't know how people beat this in like 30 minutes, bro. Freaking impossible. You gotta be like,
you have to beat the game in 1 minute.
What the frick? No.
Could you imagine?
What?
1 minute.
1 minute. Hey, that's literally. How do you even do that? How do you manage that?
I don't know. Like a glitch.
Hey, just instantly.
Glitches are on the table. I would think.
It's like, hey, I didn't say glitchless. I didn't say glitchless.
Yeah, I didn't say glitchless. No one ever said glitchless.
Luckily, Hildeberg wasn't a problem, so we quickly walked all the way around to Cagney Carnation. This is another boss I was surprised with how different they are from expert to regular. I mean, this phase when you straight up spam seeds constantly on expert is much slower and easier to manage on regular. Also, the health difference was very noticeable. I feel like I was literally speedrunning the boss's deaths.
Does not seem like a great run right now, Alex. Doesn't seem like you're not getting that 1 minute.
I can't do that, bro. I can't do that.
No, you only can't do it because you're not good enough.
I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer.
You're not a believer. I played the entire game with you.
Oh, well, you didn't know the DLC, so...
Oh my god. Dude, I was mentally traumatized for like fucking hours.
What do you mean? Well, with all the Aisle 1 bosses down, we pass by King Dice and we make it to Aisle 2. I decided to do Beppy the Clown first because I knew I was going to have a bit of trouble with the switch from expert mode to regular, so I simply wanted to get out of the way. And I was right. I failed a couple of times because I suck, but luckily it didn't take as long as I thought it was going to. Jimmy the Great is next, and for like the 10th time, the difference in difficulties is extremely noticeable, and playing Jimmy on regular felt like I was fighting a baby compared to the menace of his expert counterpart with the attacks and dodging skills you need. Baroness von Bonbon was next on my hit list, and she was actually not as difficult as I thought she was gonna be. Baroness gave me some trouble when I was trying to S-rank her for the boss tier list video I made. You should totally check out that video, by the way. But it was light work now on regular. Attacks were considerably easier to dodge, and the last phase wasn't a panic fest with only one Baroness head instead of 2 like on Expert. Wally Warbles, which is usually the bane of my existence on Expert, wasn't terribly difficult to beat on my first try on regular. Using only PEASHOOTER though on his third phase made the fight go by a bit slower than usual, since I typically switch to mini bombs if Willy Warbles gets close to me or when the shells are blocking my PEASHOOTER shots. His last phase was also much more difficult with only PEASHOOTER, since you're basically meant to use mini bombs here. The only time I could really get damage in is when he swayed towards the right side of the screen so I could hug the bottom left and spam EXs. I was still able to beat him on my first try, and it wasn't as difficult as I originally would have thought. The last boss for Isle 2 is Grim Matchstick, but I got a little confused on how to get there because I had a brain fart, but luckily there's a secret pathway behind the Wally Warbles fight that I remembered, so I was fine. Still wasted time, but it is what it is. Grim Matchstick was obviously easy as pie, especially on regular. I'm not sure why people say that Grim Matchstick on Expert is easier than regular, because its attacks on regular are so much slower and more infrequent, so they're much easier to dodge. The Cloud's movement really shouldn't be a problem, especially since the attacks are much slower on regular, so not sure why so many people share the same sentiment of Expert being easier. We give King Dice a hello between the Isles and move on to Isle 3. Now this was by far the hardest Isle to get past, not because of the increased number of bosses, but because the effectiveness of PEASHOOTER was starting to become smaller and smaller, and there's no one that shows that better than Rumor Honeybottoms. This took me way too long to beat, and I decided to actually skip Rumor Honeybottoms after a few tries, because it was going to take me way longer than I wanted it to. I was constantly taking stupid hits from getting used to the difference between Expert and regular, and kept on fudging my button presses and was dropping through the platforms on accident a lot. The first phase isn't very difficult once you know how to approach it. The second phase is basically the same principle, but the last phase was the biggest pain in my ass out of all the boss fights and phases. You have to be in an extremely awkward angle, all while trying to not mess up your button presses and dodge the flying fist trying to hit you. This was the main reason this took so long to beat. It took maybe 15 to 20 minutes? I'm not sure, but we finally got the dub. We moved on to Captain Brinybeard, since I basically left Werner Vermin for last due to the troubles I had with Rumor Honeybottoms. Captain Brinybeard was an easy dub, since he's not hard in the first place, but man, his attacks are so much slower on regular, and it was such a breath of fresh air for me. Caloria was next, and she was also not difficult at all. Everything she did was much slower, so reacting to her attacks was much easier in return. Not much more to say, pretty much bodied her first try.
I love the idea is like after making a few videos of pushing like games to the limit, I like start a video like real life, and they're like, you know, everyone's like, what the hell? This is Ben in real life. I'm like, okay, so after all this time of pushing games to the limit, I decided I want to push real life to the limit. But as you can see, I'm not the most physically fit, so we'll be grabbing some of my friends to torture them.
I feel like you're implying that like we are fit, or like anybody in the friend group is like fit. I would say only Sebastian gets close.
I feel like Sebastian and Tony were fine.
Tony's freaking malnourished, bro. I don't think he counts. I don't think he counts.
Oh, it's going in the quote that. Actually, I'm putting that.
No, don't do that. No. After Cala Maria was naturally Sally's stage play. This actually gave me a bit more trouble than I was expecting. For the millionth time by now, I had to get used to the pacing of the fight from Expert to regular, so I took a lot of unnecessary damage and failed a couple of times even. Her last phase was definitely the most annoying though. It's a similar awkward angle you have to shoot at, like for Rumor Honeybottoms, but in the end we finished the fight. After Sally's stage play, we quickly ran up to Phantom Express. Phantom Express was also another boss I had unnecessary difficulties on. This was mainly because I was distracted by talking with my partner in crime, Ben, but I was struggling nonetheless. In the end, it was mainly the third and last phase that gave me the most trouble. The third phase, the timing on when the ghouls do their lightning attack feels different, and I think the right ghoul always does the lightning attack first. To hit the heart of the train during the last phase was more difficult than I imagined, and I would take stupid hits from the fireballs or from the heart of the train itself. After too long, honestly, we managed to finally beat them. After Phantom Express, we wrapped all the way around back to Rumor Honeybottoms to beat her. Then after beating her, decided to go beat Dr. Call's robot since I knew I could beat Werner Vermin within a reasonable amount of time. Dr. Call's robot on regular is much easier than on expert, and although I did get tripped up a bit because of the differences in the difficulties, I managed to beat Dr. Call's robot decently quick. The last boss to beat was Werner Vermin, and although it didn't take very long to beat, I was, again, thrown off by the timing of some attacks and took way more hits than I should have. Also, I honestly forgot that the parry that the Ghost Mice throw out splits in both directions when it hits the ground, so I would sometimes get hit there and fail and was confused how I got hit. Other than that, Werner Vermin is not difficult. So, with everything done, we move on to Inkwell Hell and fight King Dice. I surprisingly did this first try. I got very good heart placements, with a heart on the Tipsy Troop and Fear Lap. I naturally did both those fights, very easily beating Tipsy Troop and taking only one hit on Fear Lap, then went against Manglestein, of course, and f***ing ripped him to shreds! After which, I fought King Dice, and, well, it was easy as pie. It felt like the cards moved much slower, which proved to be an advantage, and was able to hit most of my PEASHOOTER shots during this last phase, getting past him very fast. Now with only one boss fight to go, we fight the Devil. And, welp, he was easy too! I did have to restart once because I took stupid hits and wasn't feeling that attempt, but right after him, I beat him no sweat. The last phase literally lasted 5 seconds and, well, that's it! I managed to beat the game using only PEASHOOTER in 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 29 seconds. Sadly, I'm not very happy with this time, and I definitely could have done better. I was very distracted talking with my friends, listening to music, and recording this while sleep deprived at 6 in the morning. Obviously that's on me, but I want to challenge everyone to do the same challenge that I did. Make a new save, time yourself when you begin the new game, and beat the game with only PEASHOOTER. Time between loading screens and whatnot was also included in the time, by the way, since I didn't know how to have it stop when the game was loading, just so you know. But let me know what you think of this challenge and what your time was. I appreciate all the support, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this video with anyone who would be interested. With all of that, I'll see you later.